Hey there, it's Chris, and welcome back to the Kai Shulin project, where if you're wondering why she's facing away from the camera, well, I just figure you don't really see this view very often, so it's always the face facing forward. So as you can see, we are still detailed all the way around, and we've been doing a pretty dang good job. Last time we finished the knife on the side here, which you can kind of see if I try to bring it up too close. I might get all blurry, so we're just going to keep it there. We finished the ammo belt, put a coat on the hat, which I'll be honest, the first coat on the hat that you saw before I wasn't too happy with. Second coat, it's starting to grow on me. And again, when we put the actual camo on here, it'll blend into that, which should all work out in the end. So this time there's gonna be probably a whole bunch of changing colors and whatnot going on this time. So let's go and get my camera a little less precarious here. First off, I would like to finish the ammo box, and for this, let me get myself a little pointer. I'd like to have just this little inside portion here. I'm going to do in the gray that her pants, the kind of yoga pant part is, just so it kind of stands out. Then we have the black that kind of goes around everywhere else, with, I believe, maybe just a little bit of the gold on the top and bottom here, the brass. So 3 more colors kind of go on here. In addition to that, on the hat, every time I keep looking at the images on the side, the red here does look like the same as the red on the shirt, so I'm just going to go with that on this first coat. And with that, when we come onto the camo, which we're getting to the point where we need to do this, all we have left that we haven't touched really is the camo, the rifle, and the shoulder guard. So we're running out of things to do. So also the chevron you can see on the image here, up, down, and on the sides and back. Also, one of the 2 colors on there is going to be the shirt color. So we're just going to do a coat of red on that, coat of red on the sides up there, and that's going to be fine. I would also like to get a coat, as I said, our camo is going to be the mix between the gold and brown, which I've already done on the hat, and the mocha. So I'm going to do the lighter shade on here with the mocha, so we can at least get a coat on here going, and then we'll get the actual camo part in a future video. Probably not. The next one might be the rifle, but so I'll probably save this actually for last, but I still want to get a coat on here. And there's some detailing we need to do on the hat. She has the sniper symbol goes up top here, and there are additional symbols that are going to go on the side, which I can't do today because I'm only going to have 1 coat of the red here, and I know it took 4 coats to get that red right. So I'm not going to get to those symbols today. But I know when I did the detailing on Bang's image, he had the side on his shoulders and on his back, he had really kind of fine scroll work. I kind of want to give that a shot on camera. So if it works out, that's good. If it doesn't work out, it's paint. I can always repaint back over again. So a bunch of things are going to want to do, and there are a whole bunch of different colors going to be used for this. So there's going to be a lot of back and forth. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put real quick, I'm going to get the gray in here. Let me go get the camera here kind of set up so I can do what I need to do. And hopefully we're facing down far enough, because I just watched the last video that I uploaded and I didn't tilt the camera far enough, and it was not good. So let's get this right. Are we good over here? Am I facing the right way? My hand wants to naturally be over here, so can we get ourselves where my hand wants to naturally be? Alright, perfect. Now, this is a big nothing thing, so it's just getting inside, and I just want to get a coat of this in here before I do the main event. Now, actually I might do this outer part down here and the back in the darker black, and this kind of center fold here I'm going to do in that lighter black color. So there are going to be a whole lot of different textures and colors and all that going on in this one individual piece. But it's going to be good in the end. Trust me, I'm a professional at something. Maybe not this, but in something I'm a professional. Okay, that's all I had to do right there. And that is all I believe I need the gray for. So also, after today, I'm going to clean out this water. The water itself is doing fine, but I'm not sure how long it's going to hold up on that. it's still doing its job. The brushes are still getting clean. But okay, I put that plastic bag somewhere. Alright, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, just to give you an idea, coming over here, we have, on our colors, we have our dark black, we have our light black color, and the gray I just used, I have the red, I've got the gold, and I've got a brown. So, I do have all the colors still here, and they're still doing their job. Even, hello camera. They're still doing what I want them to do. Okay. Next I actually want to do a little brown. This is going to be the hair color brown, this is going to be the trim brown. Because if we come over and I can finally change the side image here. If we come over to her face, you can see whoop, we're up there, up top in this section. The symbol there is the symbol for a sniper in the game. Again, the shock troopers have a symbol. The scouts have symbols, the lancers have symbols. Well, this is, that symbol up there, I'm pointing the wrong way. That symbol up there is the sniper symbol, so it'd be kind of nice to have that put in there. So the outer circle of that is the brown. So I'm going to use a little bit of that. And this would be one of those things that if I were doing the Bang project, the Bang Shishigami one, I would 100% be doing this off camera because, yeah, I do not trust getting this right kind of on camera. Let me get this back down there. If I'm leaning in a lot. You still can't see me. Good. All right, so all I need to do is just make a circle. That's it. Let's make a circle. Oh, we also have some touch-ups to do. Because I touched up the second coat on the tan, but I got the tan all over some of these lines, and I did spend another half hour after last session doing some more stuff like the second coats on here and finishing off the knife and a couple little things. So that puts now 8 hours worth of on-camera video on painting and another 6 hours off-camera. So where I figured like it'd be, I don't know, 10, 11 hours or so for painting, we're up to 14 right now and still going. So that's awesome. It's also why this looks freaking good. I'm really liking how this is coming out. I don't know about you guys, I am really liking how it's coming out. Super, super pleased. Okay, so not only do we need an actual circle that looks like a circle, we need it kind of centered on this as well. And it's going to have to be large enough that we can kind of read it easy enough as we go. Now thinking about it, because I'm doing this part right now, I might not actually get the symbol on here later, but that's actually not too bad. How does that size-wise compare to the image? I can actually go a little bit larger, which is going to be nice, because if this goes a hair bigger, that makes the next step slightly easier. Trying not to go too big, while also understanding the fact that I like how it is in the first place. It's nice and round and good, and I don't want to disrupt its roundiness. Okay, so I think something like that's not too bad. It's large enough, it's easily visible. There we go. think I had too much. Yeah, you see the shine there. It's large enough, it's easily visible. I think that's going to work for that. And was there anything else I wanted this color for? I know this is going to need a second coat going around there, but again, I'm going to do that off camera. I just haven't done it yet. On this guy, I was going to use the light and dark blacks, so I don't need that. And when we come to here, this is going to be, which thankfully, if we have the image on the side here and we slide over, this actually shows what this is going to be. I'm going to use this for trim work afterwards. I'm going to put the other coats on first. I think for now, that's all I wanted with this. So we're getting some of these really quick, easy, derpy things done sooner rather than later so we can get these to dry. And then maybe get some special stuff going after them, which would be good. Super, super good. All right. Alright, so I think next I'm going to do the red, just to get that... the red is nice, but actually I'll probably get this guy going next. Because if I put it on here, that's like the base for number of colors on this, and then that can dry while I do something else. So let's see, moving that out of the way. So if we're doing red, I need to be able to fine-tune some stuff in here, but I also need something large enough that I can use it on this at the same time. That's the brown I just put back. Hey, there's the red. Okay, how are we doing on time? We are 12 minutes. And we are frantically going through everything just because there are so many different colors being used during this. Theoretically, I haven't done so many different colors yet, but we're at 12 minutes and I'm starting color number 3, so maybe I am? Alright, am I on camera? Oh yes. Alright, once again, red is going to look very bad on a first coat. Red is going to look very bad on a second coat. It's going to look kind of bad on a third coat, and then by the fourth, it comes together. So, feel sorry for you, but you're going to see the not-so-great stage. And I've already done, generally speaking, my second cut-in on the dark brown, so I'm going to try to be really careful and not get this on there. And also, I am doing this with the understanding that this is not going to look right by the end of this session. When we come back from this one for the next session, this thing's going to look phenomenal. Hopefully. If it's the color I want it to be, it's going to look phenomenal. But otherwise, not so much. It's going to be a first coat of red, which is always, always terrible. I'm going to try to let you see everything I'm doing again. I've noticed, I feel like there's at least one video where everything was just off camera. It was bad. I think it's the one I'm uploading tonight after I'm done with this. But we get through those. We're learning things. Yeah, so in the end, this red is ultimately going to turn into that red after many coats. So that's kind of what we're dealing with. All right, we have the inside to do as well. It's not just the outside. Okay, you couldn't see any of that, but I had to try to get the brush in there in places a brush does not want to get into. Okay. Yeah, I think part of the reason this didn't work was the white up there. I think this is going to help tie it back into her shirt. So in the end, this might actually work out pretty well. Hopefully I'm not in the shot this time. I felt really, really awkward rewatching that, at least parts of that one video where You saw like my nose and like sometimes my mouth and parts of the face, but not really. And everything was kind of off camera. Okay, I know you can't see that part, but I want to make sure I can see what I'm doing when I'm doing fine detail stuff. And then we get back to the main event. Whoa, I cut in the brown very badly over here. Let's see if we can fix some of that. Which again, those types of things are fine because we will work all of this stuff out again. After 4 coats of red that are going to go on here, all that is going to disappear. And once again, modus operandi, if you have too much stuff on the brush, brush it off into somewhere safe so you get things off of the brush. And now you can kind of go and cut in what you need. Otherwise, if you have a fresh brush and just try to go right to the edge, it winds up being too much and it kind of smushes itself kind of over in a bad way. So just for general painting purposes, I find the getting paint on the brush helps. Just doing quick that just to get it off of here, or at least get the excess off, and then you can kind of go and cut in nicely. I do that at work all the time when painting trims and kind of like window trims, door trims, base trims, crown molding, stuff like that. Crown molding not so much because nobody does crown molding, which is a shame. I love crown molding. It looks great. It makes a room look finished, but nobody ever seems to want it. So don't do enough of that part. Oh well. Okay. Also, I've noticed in the videos I don't do enough of actually just kind of showing off what I have in the end once all is said and done. Oh, and actually, let's move you back on. Well, I guess we're going to move it back over. You know what, for now, move you down here. Now, the red on the chevron on this is brighter than the red over here. So I believe this is going to wind up being the darker of the colors on the chevron. And then there's going to be a lighter red, and that one's going to match the lighter red. So now that we have that, now we get to jump onto this. And this is where it's nice that I actually went ahead and did carve in general lines to follow. Now, if this is not right in the end, I can always adjust things accordingly, but this will at least give myself a start. Like if this doesn't line up center-wise on this, I can migrate some of these points over because these carve-ins aren't super visible. So once the painting goes on here, we're not really going to see them. And if you thought I was going to do a strict camo like it was shown in the image, that's not how I'm going to do this. The way I am doing camo, it's a 2-part camouflage color. There's a dark of a red and there's a light of a red, and there's a dark kind of tan and the light kind of tan. And so I'm just doing a base coat of one of the 2 colors over everything, and then I only need to paint the other color on top of it to get it to kind of have that effect. And there will be back and forth between, say if I'm doing the tan colors, I will do like a coat of the tan, and it's probably not going to be the good, super sharp, straight edges I want, so I'm going to have to go and retouch up the other color after that. And then on there, if things still aren't sharp and nice and neat, I'm going to go and retouch. So there's going to be a back and forth involved with it, but I'm going to at least have my starter coat. I will have at least one starter coat finished of one of the 2 colors. Now, ideally, it would be the lighter of the 2 colors done. I believe this is going to wind up being the darker of the 2. But there's not that much going on the red side of things. So, not uber concerned. But I just figured this would be a good session to kind of start to get working in this. Ooh, don't tip that over. Start to get working in this direction. Because again, we are running out of other things to do. which is not a bad thing. 'Cause, like I said, I am super, super pleased with how this whole thing is coming out. Like I said, the other models have been that roughly like 11-ish hours. I think basically for the last three that I've done, the only three that I've done. And this one I've already exceeded that. And I think quality-wise, there is a difference in quality that's coming out of the whole thing. Also, I think not doing a lot of the subsequent coats on camera is helping me to take my time a little more to get some of the edges right and whatnot. The edges and stuff may be wrong on camera. Things are a little kind of blurry, I admit. You're probably seeing some kind of bad stuff happening. But when I have time to come back afterwards, kind of like on my own time, and I can take as much time as I want, it seems to be working out really, really well. So for future models and for future projects, I think I'm going to use that kind of as maybe a baseline or example, or just kind of my new modus operandi for doing these types of projects, at least on the painting side of things. So I'm happy to see that. I am super, super happy. Also, this red on here looks really weird without the tan. Visually speaking, the tan probably should have been done first, but I just wanted to. Actually, I'm not really sure why. I think I just wanted to get that hat going, which is why I chose the red first, to be honest. Also, this should take less time than the tan to do, so it'll let me jump onto one of the other parts as well. Come on, get into the groove. I don't want to put more paint on here. You as well. Okay, 2 chevrons done. Let's get chevron number 3. Now, I still haven't carved out the inside of this. I know on the model, if you look at the shoulder, you can still see the rubbed out kind of shoulder. So I still need to carve this a little bit. I still need to carve kind of those 2 spots a little bit. I'm going to do a little carving down there. So I do still need to do a little bit of that before I try to put this on her again. But at the same time, there's only so much I can do with that because it's not super thick to begin with. But it is one of those unfortunate things that's happening right now. I don't need that. I don't need her arm to keep scraping. I don't want her back to keep scraping. I don't want that breastplate to keep scraping. It's just... Granted, they're not terrible ones. I think really the only one that's really visible is kind of like the chest plate of hers that's kind of in your face visible. The one on the back, it's on the back. You don't really see that scrape mark. And the shoulder, your eye is not really drawn to that area. Whereas the other one is on a brass piece in the middle of dark red, so it's like your eye just gets drawn to that part. And if that gets scraped off, that could be problems. So I do need to kind of fix that at some point. And if I don't get this part 100% straight on this coat, that's not super problem. But again, this is just more for me trying to feel good about myself, getting it right on a first go. I like to take pride in what I do. So okay, let's see, followed that. Alright, so I got that red one a little further than I wanted, but that's okay. I don't think I got much on the brush. Oh, I'm so happy these paints actually last as long as they do in here as well, because I mixed these things like over a week ago, and they're still going strong. So put it in plastic, try to get as much air out of the plastic as you can, and the stuff will kind of last forever. Kind of like if you ever wonder, just random fact that came in my head, if you're thinking about things lasting forever like that, if you look at how the city of Venice is still afloat, it's sitting on top of piles of wood that are like 1,000 years old. Because You go in your house, wood rots within like a couple years once it gets water on it. Those things have been there for over 1,000 years, and it's still holding the city up. And that's because the wood is submerged in the mud underneath, so it doesn't get air to it. So if you don't get air to it, it doesn't rot. Same kind of here. If I'm putting these things in bags, I always kind of squeeze it down, get as much air out of it as I can, so the paint doesn't harden. And by and large, it generally tends to work. I do that at work all the time too. If we don't have the means to clean out our paintbrushes on a job or whatever, I'll tend to put those in plastic, or if I'm going to be using it again in the not too distant future after I use it the first time, I'll stick things in plastic. And it does do its job. And I don't have the back of her, but I'm just going to assume these little dots are not red. So they're probably, I believe the other ones on her on the front side are generally one of the two blacks I'm going to be using for that. So I'm going to assume this is going to be the same. So let's just paint around it. I can see the line is not super neat, but that's okay for this coat. Future coats that will not be acceptable, but for this coat it's going to be fine. Part of learning this stuff is part of learning what you can get away with, and that's or when you need to be super critical and when you don't need to be super critical and just kind of go. This first coat I can just kind of go, so not that concerned. Otherwise, I wish I could talk about exciting things that happened during the day, or really anything during this segment, but nothing exciting has really happened today. Trying to figure out how to put in a bay window with two people tomorrow is going to be entertaining, I'm sure. But did a lot of the prep work today, but we still only have two of us to put in a bay window tomorrow. That is going to be a thing. It's not going to be as hard as we think it is, but it's not going to be as easy as I want it to be either. So we'll just kind of deal with that. All right, let's put glasses back on. And at least now this is starting to turn into something. This has been sitting on the side forever. Nothing happening. So we're going to go and say that part is done. All right. One more element finished. Next, I need to clean out the brush. All right, we're going to be back to the ammo box again. We're going to do one of those blacks. Do I do the light black or the dark black? Which one would I want to do first? Because what I'm thinking of for this one, I'm thinking of doing the light black on this. So if I break out the light black now, I would do... actually, on here, it's going to be easier to cut in the... It's going to be easier to do the light black, the inside here, at the very end. So we're going to start with the dark black, which is you. Alright, starting with the dark black, which is a lot of this cutting in. Alright, I didn't check last time. Everything is kind of centered. Yes, we are kind of centered, and my face is not in the camera from what I can tell. So, kudos to that. And this particular element has like every color under the sun being done to it. And actually, realistically, I could just do the entire thing as the dark black. If we come back and look at how the knife turned out in the end, other than the fact that I just scraped a little bit off of here somehow, I did the entire thing. I started the entire thing as a dark black, just did one coat of the light, and it actually worked out pretty well. So realistically, I don't need to worry too much on this. I think I'm just going to do everything in this shade of black, and then I'll come over back afterwards with the lighter version and finish it with that. And then I need remember I need to come back again later on to get the brass colors, because that's a thing that exists as a thing as well. Oh, I am very quickly going to be running out of places to hold this thing. That's going to be the problem. And I don't need to worry about cutting in down here. Let's get this bottom. I believe I'm just going to do that as brass. I'm not sure if I want that to be brass or black, but for now I can just pretend like I want it to be brass, because brass is easier to paint over white than it is over black. So I can try the black. I can try doing the brass first. If it doesn't look right, I can always paint back over it with the black. Alright. Oh, I got like nothing on my brush that time. I do want to kind of cut in here nicely, just so we can see inside this little thing that there's something going on inside that little thing. Ooh, and I was hoping to do the actual kind of medallion stuff on the hat. You're kind of putting the actual symbol on there, but I think there's going to be enough other stuff to do that might just be first thing tomorrow or next session. I'll probably do that, and then I can do the ones on the side of the hat as well once I get all those coats of red on there on the ear flaps. And I can do all of that kind of fine tuning together. So I'm a little off of what I wanted to get done, but I think it's going to be for the better rather than rushing this, because I think between this and then getting the other color on the camo, I think we're going to wind up eating up most of the time frame that I want to eat up. My fingers are going to be turning black, but it's the price we pay. Alright, what do we have? Yeah, we have a little bit of actual trim stuff I need to do here. Thankfully, I can see just a little bit of this raised figure, which is going to be the button. Okay, so far so good. This is... Right now, the brown, the dark brown and the black are kind of blending together. When I get the second coat on this black in here, we'll probably see the difference a little clearer. But yeah, right now it does blend a little. Well, it blends quite a bit. I'm trying to be nice, but no, it does blend quite a bit. It's just funny how this one box is going to use up pretty much, I think, just about every single color I have on this model, other than the red, is going to be represented on this one specific element. And it's kind of nuts how that works out that way. But sometimes it just does that, we get stuff that works like that. All right. I don't want to see any primer white on this when I'm done, outside of where the brass is going. So make sure we get all of these little points inside all these little nooks and crannies. Okay, so like the other, we're going to have a brass top on this. Do I want a little black on here? Let me put a black stripe just to show that the kind of the whatchamacallit, the cord is going up a little bit. Because again, the other image, which is very much not the one you're seeing on the side of the screen, that's actually probably the least useful image you could possibly have. But the other one does have a brass hook kind of hooking it all together. So even though I kind of fudged the way the whole thing kind of hooks together, yeah, that's fine. We're still gonna, I can still try putting the brass on there, at least the colorization, even if the form isn't right. Okay, so that's not a very good looking colorization there. All right, we can put that on here. That makes life easier. I still keep some of these things just for such occasion, just for such an occasion. All right, so what are we doing on time? We are 37 minutes. Okay, so I think at this point we are just going to go ahead with the main event color. Get the big thing done. And if I get that first coat on the camo done and there's still time, then I can come back and put the light black part on here on the bottom. But otherwise, I'm not gonna. That was kind of the stretch goal, was to get something done on that regard. So, okay. Bringing you over, and this one we're doing different, because this one I don't have a mixed color. I can just use, like I said, for first coat, I just wanted to use the straight up mocha. And I'm going to be a little nicer on myself. I'm going to use a slightly wider brush just to see if we can expedite this just a little bit. Expedite, make this. We're also going to find out if this is just too much brush. This is a big brush compared to what I've been using. And the goal is not to put too much paint on here. Okay, so just as before, if I get stuff where it shouldn't be, that's not a huge issue. Nothing here has been final coated. The brown hasn't been final coated. That red, sure as anything, hasn't been final coated. So, all right, now we'll see. If I have this thing just kind of sitting there, yes, we are very much on camera. So that's perfect. Let's get some of these bottom sections done, and then I'll kind of work my way up. I'm not worried about these fasteners or whatnot yet. That's going to come later. I just want to get this started so that when I do actually come back and do the camouflage for real, I'm not just like doing a coat and then having to sit there for a little while as it dries. with nothing to do. Although this does not take long at all to dry. The red is already dry. And once again, this is where I like how I actually carved this thing, because I'm looking at my bristles are kind of stopping right at that mark, or at least where I carved it is stopping the bristles from kind of going any further. I also have way too much paint on this brush. Up. Don't do that. Okay, that wasn't from rubbing up against anything. That was just it being what it was. Okay, let's get this. And what I'm liking is this will finally turn this, or start to turn this into an actual element, because it's been ignored the entire time. Which isn't bad. I really, really like the way Kai has been turning out. But I do need to remember that a lot of what I've done on there is going to be covered. And it's just part of what this is, what this project was always going to be. So it's not a huge surprise that that's... Okay, I definitely got a bunch of stuff onto the trim brown there that I didn't need to, but that's okay. Alright, we had a whole bunch of excess paint on that brush, so we had to get all that off. Alright, we got this. Okay, note to self, when I do the next couple coats off camera, it's going to take longer, but don't use this brush for cutting in. It is very, very bad for cutting in edges. Very, very bad. So... However, for sake of time and getting kind of stuff done for a first coat, it's fine. For subsequent coats, I can do the middle part of it with this brush, maybe have two brushes going, but for getting nice, neat cut-in marks like along the edges, no, this is not the play for the final coats. Come on, get that white by the end. No. Alright, we're doing that. Get that little white spot. How would I just do that? And it gets some of the white. There's some of this color out. Yeah, of course, I'm not going to know how this looks on her until I go and do the trimming on the inside. So, whether it looks good or not, we're not going to know for some time. Is this going expediently? Yeah, we're going expediently enough. This is probably going to be where things end. Let's see, where's my cut-in mark? It looks like I made a mistake when I carved it here because I see two separate cut-in marks. So I'm just trying to visually compare one width of that to that width. So I'm going to go with the skinnier of the cut-in marks on that one. Oh yeah, problem with doing this with a smaller brush is it is going to take forever. But it's going to look a lot better on the cut-ins, so at the end of the day, that's what matters the most, is the quality. At least for me, at least there is a certain level of quality I want on these things. And yes, I know I keep saying things like, oh, it's okay, I can have things touch here, touch there, and all that, but that's because I know when I get to the end of this stuff, when I do the real cut-ins, when I'm doing like the final coats, I will be a lot more careful. It's just basically the goal of right now is just to get stuff on here, and that's really all we need. I don't think you can see this thing I just did on camera. I think that is 100% off. Alright, at least now it's almost impossible to super overload this brush because there's not that much more in the cap of this paint bottle. But, oh no, I still see white along both of these edges. Why? Primer white is awful. We don't want that. Seeing primer white is just like a reminder of you failed. You didn't cut in correctly. I will say I am very happy to see this color now on here because, well, yes, because primer white doesn't look very good, but at least now with this is the last, well, it's not the last major thing, but it is one of the big major things left. I'm not 100% sure how this week is going to turn out. I would like to have this model finished this week, or at least the painting phase. In my mind, I believe the painting phase is going to be finished by the end of the week. So there is still a base to do, but I think it's going to be a lot like Bangs in that I'll probably do one day will probably be kind of carving down whatever I want to carve down into it, and it's going to be maybe a 1 day kind of paint job on it, and that should pretty well finish it off. Again, I'm thinking just having like a dirt path or something like that as the base. So I'm pretty sure painting will probably be done this week, and then that's going to come down to next week to get that part done. Let's see. I can hold this pretty well, so we're just going to, you know what? You stay? Hey, you stay. Okay, so let's go get myself a little bit more in here. Boop. Alright, so what was I doing? I was holding this. And we're getting into these spots. And yeah, I can tell we're getting near the end of a session. Because usually if like at least, even if I don't have anything to really talk about for like the first 15 minutes or so, for those first like 15 minutes, I can generally find something to babble on about. Whether it's on the model or whether it's something going on in life or whatever. But by the time I get to the end of these hour-long sessions, I do just 100% run out of steam. More often than not. which is not good. Should be able to talk for an hour. Hour's not that long. But it is what it is. As we keep doing these types of things, I may get better at it, or I may just go and abandon this type of thing and maybe have like a once a week kind of, or like a one video a week kind of deal where I show, okay, here's what I did, here's how I did it, and kind of have more of a recap session of stuff. I'm not 100% sure which I want to go with. Again, my master plan was to have the first two models, we're going to show everything, because I think it's important to know how long it takes to do stuff. Not everything is done like right away. You don't get frustrated if things aren't done right away. It's just there is a process we have to go to do these types of projects, and I did want to showcase that, which I think it did. But again, that was a goal for two models worth of things, and we're getting to the end of my second model, and I haven't figured out if I want to keep doing that type of thing, or I can say mission accomplished on that. The next model I'm looking at is going to be a significantly different process, I think, compared to what I've just done. So that might be worth them just kind of going over and doing kind of the same-ish mentality here, just like show the entire thing through so that you have it. If you're curious, you can always either just like kind of stop in at the start of a session, stop in at the end, kind of see what progress is being made. And if you like it, you can then kind of watch the video. If you don't, you can just see where things are and kind of go from there. But I think that one's going to be different enough that it kind of warrants giving the same kind of treatment as on this. And I don't necessarily need to give the Cliff Notes version on that. Let me just get the edge of this while I don't have too much paint on the brush. It makes it easier to do some of those. I'm getting less stuff I can hold, although a lot of the stuff I've already done is dry, so maybe I'm not getting less stuff to hold. Alright, let's get by this one section. Again, we can get paint everywhere on that. It's more important to get the white in there and get paint over stuff than not get the white in there and have it nice and clean, because I want that white gone. Finished product does not want that white there. And again, I haven't done a final coat on this dark, so not at all concerned. I can still wipe it off like that if I see it, at least an egregious spot, but okay, so that trim got a little flat over there, so I must have added a fold after the fact at that point. Okay, and for the front. So it's a shame when I do my final kind of send-off on this video and I do my usual kind of, here's how Kai looks now. She is largely going to be unchanged. Because other than that little bit of red and the circle on the hat, I haven't really done anything with her this time. So, yeah. I'm going to be curious what I use as a thumbnail for this one. Because everything has looked so good. Now the thumbnail is going to be a lot of this stuff that looks like kind of garbo. Because I can't really show a shot of her per se. I'll figure it out when I get there. I have quite a bit of time to figure that out. I am far enough ahead of the game in terms of having content created versus content that you have seen. By the time this goes live, painting should be done. So, alright, just need to get up in this fold area. Yeah, so my goal was next time was going to be doing the rifle painting, but I do still have a fair amount of this other stuff to do besides camouflage that I need to kind of finish. I missed a white spot there. So it might be one more kind of hodgepodgey kind of session. Then it'll probably be, or I might even start the rifle on that. Then it might be one more finishing any kind of little things, predominantly have the rifle stuff, and then save the last one for doing this actual camouflage part. This doesn't count as doing the camouflage part. This is just the prep work for the camouflage part. There's no camouflage to be had on this. This is just a color. And I have no idea how long or not long that camouflage part's going to take to get it looking like what I want it to look like. Because that is a whole new type of element I have never had to deal with before. So, but I knew it was going to be a thing when I started the first one. I was picking out which model I wanted to do, and we're at that point where I'm going to have to deal with that after we deal with everything else, and I can put this off no longer. I am holding this brush all kinds of weird for some reason to pretend like I'm trying to get this on camera in a way that you guys can see, but I'm doing it in a way that I can't see. Okay, so we have that in there. How does that look? That's not too bad. Kind of bring you up. So we're getting somewhere on this. Now, unfortunately, it's a stark contrast between the tan here and the red, because this is the light tan color and that's the dark red color. It would make more sense if they were the two kind of the same, but it's not. How are we on time? I'm at 58 minutes. So let me just go ahead and put a quick dash on this, because this is only going to take just a little bit. And then once this is done, we're going to be donezo for this session. So for this, all I need is this part gets the light. This is very much not the right brush to have for this, but it kind of works. It kind of works. Alright, so that's the light, and I believe it's the two upper chevron pieces. Yeah, the two uppers. Get it. And this is going to be easier just to go over those kind of buttony areas. And then I can just repaint them over again, because it's going to be so much harder to try to paint around that. So those buttons are going to be the very last thing, or rivets or whatever are all going to be the very last thing kind of done on here. Okay, now I know the top here is going to get the dark brown, but I'm just going to do that coat on here. That comes down, that's going to be red. But these two are going to get this color. Okay, I didn't get nearly as far as I wanted to get done today, but we still got quite a bit done. Alright, so that's that. We now have a start on this piece. And yeah, let me clean out this brush, kind of put what we have together. I'm kind of curious how this hat now looks on her. Ooh, okay. Unlike the other colors, which I just kind of dabbed on little bits here and there, we used a lot of this one on the brush. So there is definitely some cleaning going on, but we're starting to get nothing off of this, which is good. We want to see just kind of clear as we come off, because that means the brush is actually clean. Alright, so let's put some things together and see how we did. We are in overtime right now, so let us go, go, go. Alright, so we had the knife from last time, can go back. I can never find this, I can never find this hole before. And once we got things, where is it? It's farther back than I think it is. Okay. Now we in there. Now you're not in there. Hey, okay, I think we got it. I think we got it. Alright, we have our ammo box, which is not done. Again, we're going to change some colors on that. We can at least pop that on for now. And we have the hat. We got a nice little dot on the hat, which now I'm looking. I need to move the dot over just a little bit, but I'll do second coat on that off camera and get that 100% prepped. So that's on there. So that looks pretty good. And I'm curious, the hat now with this starts to make a little more sense when the hat kind of comes together with this. And let's go and put you back up here. And the colorizations, at least on this tan, I'm liking this tan color as it relates to that. So we'll see. I think something might actually wind up being the right color in the end. We will find out. But that's where, that's going to be up there. That's where we are. And yeah, next time all these elements we kind of started off, we should be kind of finishing off. I'd like to get this done. I want to get this done. I want to get the details on the hat in there. So yeah, we're gonna finish off those things. We can put the buttons on the camo. So yeah, next time's gonna be one more kind of hodgepodge thing, and then we're gonna start jumping on, I think, the rifle after that. So until then, and until next time, enjoy.